Hi guys, it's ASBYT, and believe it or not, it's been a month since the Samsung Galaxy S10, S10 Plus, S10e were launched. I've been using this a fair bit since then. Now it's time for the grueling, gruesome details. So this, ladies and gents, is my 1 month after full review. Warts and all, the good and the bad, this is the truth. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. Right, so the Galaxy S10 range were launched on the 20th of February, and now it's pretty much exactly 1 month afterwards. So in my general day-to-day use, how have I gone with it? What do I like? What do I dislike? And what you might want to know if you are indeed looking to buy this phone. It's not going to be a specs-laden video. If you want that, then go and see my first review on the phone. It goes into more detail on all of those individual things. So firstly, in the hand, I found it incredibly comfortable to use. And due to the fact you've got a similar sized display to the Note 9, but with the reduced bezels, it has meant that operating this phone with one hand, for example, has been a lot easier than the Note 9, which felt to me, who's got quite small hands, a big phone. Love the phone, but just found it a little bit too big. This feels a lot better. It's also, for the size, very light in the hand while still feeling premium, so again, a good job with that. Now, one of the biggest new talks about features on the Galaxy S10 and S10 Plus was the ultrasonic 3D fingerprint sensor. Now, I didn't hold back in my first impressions stating that I felt the 3D fingerprint sensor wasn't as good as the regular fingerprint sensors that they had on the back of the Note 9 and the S9, for example, in terms of speed, number one, and in terms of reliability. Now, many people over the last few weeks have been saying that people have been using that 3D fingerprint sensor wrong, in the fact that they've been pressing and holding it down, therefore delaying proceedings because you just have to tap it. And while that is true, it definitely does help, I still stand by what I said on my original video. I still don't see anything wrong with just having the fingerprint sensor on the back. Number one, I still do find them quicker, and number two, I like having the little ridge on the back so that I know exactly where it is, because even though I've got used to kind of roughly where the fingerprint sensor is on here, until they can produce the 3D fingerprint sensor underneath that is a large panel so you can press it pretty much anywhere on here, finding that specific spot I have found harder because it's completely flat. Yes, 95% of the time I'm able to get it first time and it works pretty quickly, but that odd time that you miss it and it says no match, it's just a bit frustrating when you know that back when it was there, it worked 99% of the time. Nitpicking, yes, just thought you might want to know. One thing you definitely have to do when using the 3D fingerprint sensor is to press down harder than you would with a standard one. And that's something, again, that I had to get used to. Yes, you can just tap it, but you definitely have to do it with a bit more pressure, and then it does work nigh on most of the time, from what I found anyway. On the flip side, you've got an ultrasonic 3D fingerprint sensor on your display, and that is pretty sick. While we're on security, you also have Face Unlock, which, as people have mentioned, isn't very secure. Does it work quickly? Yes, it's not the fastest Face Unlock I've ever used on a smartphone, but it is pretty quick. Does that lack of security bother me personally? Not really. Unfortunately, that is fairly standard for 2D facial recognition. Unless you go with the 3D facial recognition, the likes of the iPhone or the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, then that is the problem you are going to possibly come across. The next one, and something I missed on my first impressions video, is the speaker is absolutely incredible. Yes, flagship smartphone speakers have got much better. The inclusion of stereo speakers, for example, like on here, has enabled them to get better, but I personally don't think I've heard a better speaker sound on a smartphone than on the Galaxy S10 Plus. I've been able to crank the volume up on here right to the top, and not only is it incredibly loud, but also the clarity is insane. There appears to be absolutely no distortion whatsoever. I have to say, they've done a great job on the sound quality. Something that will run alongside that for when you're gaming or watching media, for example, is of course the display, and I don't really need to go into too much detail on this. It is and will be in 2019, in my opinion, probably the best display on the market. It is incredible if you can get over the punch hole cutout, which some people can't. I personally, barring one example, which I'll touch on, it's been amazing to watch movies, game, etc. on here. It's just, again, kudos to Samsung for that. Tiny top bezel, shrunken chin from last year. On top of that, when you factor in the curved infinity display, it's so immersive. The colors are so vivid. The Quad HD dynamic AMOLED display. Viewing it outside has been an absolute breeze. Now, one thing I have noticed is that when you are are watching YouTube videos, for example, and the actual video has been created in the 18:9 ratio, which is becoming increasingly more and more popular due to the fact that a lot of smartphones now have that 18:9 ratio display. And as a result of that, when you are viewing a video in that format, the punch hole cutout is slap bang right in the middle of that line. So not only can you definitely see it, but it also cuts into that video quite alarmingly. Now obviously, when you zoom all the way out, it becomes far less noticeable, but again, it's just something I thought you should know. Now while the palm rejection has been pretty good on Samsung Infinity display devices, I still notice every now and again it reads that I'm touching the display when I don't mean it to, and as a result it will stop auto-rotating, for example, or it will not allow me to do a function that I'm trying to do until I completely remove my hand flat from the display. By no means awful, and something you probably will already know buying an Infinity display, but again, I thought you should know. Now we're going to jump onto camera, and this was an area that I kind of criticised Samsung a little bit for not the addition of the wide angle lens, the third camera lens, which I feel is a great addition, and I've loved using it. It's enabled me to capture some brilliant scenery shots. It has worked great for me with group shots of friends, for example. Not that I've got any friends, but... But outside of that, the rear cameras are kind of similar as last year's, and that's of course not a travesty by any means. That was a great camera last year. I just feel with this year, I know that the Pixel 4, for example, and the new iPhone are gonna again step that camera up, and I feel they may be lagging a little bit this year with the S10. They may be adding that new technology to the Note 10. Maybe that's a way to distinguish more between the S line and the Note line. Having said that, outside of the fact that they are very similar this year, you do still get some amazing shots. The clarity and sharpness in some of the photos has been incredible. Incredibly rich, vivid colours, whilst not being too oversaturated like perhaps they used to be. They are a bit more lifelike and natural. Portrait photography, if you have a still target, can be insanely good. Here, Dottie, my cat, is chilling outside, and bearing in mind this photo is actually taken through a pretty mucky window, I'm not gonna lie. I needed to clean it a bit better. Paw prints all over the shot on that glass, but even through all that, the detail and crispness of the shot is brilliant. And you can also upload straight to Instagram from your gallery. It is a slightly different story if the subject is moving. So if you've got kids or an animal, for example, and you want to take some nice shots and they are moving, I have still noticed on a few occasions motion blur, and this isn't rare by any means. This is fairly normal. However, I am comparing this to probably, in my opinion, the top point and shoot camera on a smartphone, and that is the Pixel 3 and 3 XL currently. The mind boggles at what they might achieve with the Pixel 4. That point and shoot nature, if you have a moving target with very little motion blur, it kind of just works, and that's improved on the S10 from the S9 in my opinion, but still there is work to be done. One place that currently doesn't need any work as far as Samsung are concerned is video. Now they, for me, with the S10 lead the race. They have Ultra HD at 60 frames a second. The stabilization going through the different resolutions is, in my opinion, probably top of the class, and the front camera video has Ultra HD as well. A truly brilliant smartphone for vlogging, for example. Brilliant stabilization. Again, hats off. You've got to call a spade a spade. If it's good, it's good. It's bad, it's bad. And that's what these videos are for. It's the truth. Shut up. Now, still shots on that front camera are better than last year's. They're not amazingly better, but they are an improvement. Selfies, for example, do come out much cleaner, crisper, really nice color temperatures as well. On top of that, as mentioned, the straight to Instagram feature makes taking selfies and uploading them across all of your wonderful social media, well, not all of them, just Instagram really, but it helps. In fact, let's do one now. Well, hello. And you'll be able to see that live on my Instagram right now. Little plug for the Instagram there. Go follow. Just for all that behind the scenes goodness. One thing I have noticed different from the Note 9, for example, is when taking bokeh or depth effect shots, you don't have to be as rigid in how far you are from the subject. Often you'd get too close, not ready, too close, and then it would kind of click in and you get the little ready to take. This one is a lot more flexible, and that makes, again, if you've got a moving target, much better. Now, in terms of low light photography, I've had pretty much no problems across the board. Is it much different from the S9 and the Note 9? No, not really. It works in a pretty similar way. There is some software that kind of reads when it's night, and the AI will kind of optimize the photo accordingly. Would I prefer a full night mode like you get on some other smartphones? Yes, I probably would. But on the whole, again, some really nice night photos. Lags, freezes, glitches, nah. Not experienced really anything of note. I would imagine that with the Exynos 9820, which is the SoC which ships with the European version, but some people have reported that the Snapdragon 855 is even better, so you're not going to have a problem with performance. One thing that some people have been having issues with is battery life. Some people have been finding it hasn't really produced what they were hoping for. I'm not in that camp. I've actually found the battery life with the 4100 mAh to be great. Around 6 hours of screen on time, which for me gets me through the day, and then whack it on the charge, job done. So while I've not experienced any problems, for people who have, hopefully that's something they can change with a software update which will optimize it better. Yeah, the jury's out on that one. Let me know in the comment section below how you found the battery if you indeed have this phone. This is of course the Plus version, which has a larger battery than the standard version. The fast charging side of it it's not the quickest on the market. There are currently quicker phones, and there certainly will be quicker phones in the rest of the 2019 year. Something that Samsung could improve maybe with the Note 10 or with the S11 if they're going to wait till then. It still charges it pretty quickly. Now, I'm personally not a massive wireless charging person, and I certainly am not a reverse wireless charging person. I did say it was a bit of a gimmick originally, and I kind of stand by that. Some of you may really like that feature and really use it. If you have the Galaxy earbuds, for example, that is a cool feature that you can charge them with your phone. I can't say I've personally used it, so I can't really go into more detail on that. In terms of performance, I'm also still really enjoying One UI. I still haven't changed to using a launcher. Long may that continue. Good job, Samsung, with One UI. Cash. Don't drop it, no case. You get 12s and everything on this show. It's not a show! And for now, 1 month's use, it's expensive, but it's certainly the phone to beat right now. Here's where you guys come in. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus or the regular S10 or the S10e. Which one is your favorite and why? Are you gonna buy it? Have you bought it? How have you got on with it? Good, bad, negatives, positives? Let me know in the comment section below. So again, everyone in this wonderful community can hear the latest and greatest information. Like and share if you did enjoy this video and find it helpful. Subscribe and hit that notification bell if you're new to the channel and want to be notified every time I post a video on anything tech, pretty much daily content here on YouTube. I love you and leave you. I'll see you in the next one. ASBYT, peace out.